Okay, let's talk about episode 6 of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. This is the final episode of the first season. Congo, January 1917. Directed by Simon Windsor. Written by Frank Darabont. Okay, so let me just say this is one of my favorite episodes. Just like the previous one, the Frank Darabont written stuff is really goddamn excellent. And I don't really have much to say because not much really happens in this. So the story, it's pretty much a direct sequel from the last episode. This includes the framing device, which is pretty interesting. So in the last episode, old Indy in the 90s was in the hospital and like a little girl was shot and he told that one racist guy a story that made him non-racist or whatever. And this story is just, we learn why old Indy is there. He was stung in the toe by a bee. And while he's getting checked by the doctor, he tells him the story of meeting, another doctor, Albert Schweitzer, in the Congo. And that's where the story picks up. Young Indy has to make the trip back to his, camp with the weapons that he has acquired. And on the way, everybody gets sick. Many of the men die, just like on the way, to get there in the first place. And eventually, they get found by Albert Schweitzer and, his people, his team. And he essentially heals Indy, and Indy, there is nice stuff with like him initially not trusting Schweitzer because he's a German and the Germans are the enemies. But then they slowly become friends. Indy starts to learn from Schweitzer, reverence for life and all that stuff. And that is all interesting stuff. Not much happens, it's basically just them hanging out, talking, Indy learning and his character developing in a sense. And it is great. Like, this is one of the greatest examples of the show succeeding with including a historical character. Because sometimes it can maybe feel a bit like, it wasn't really necessary to have this character here, or it feels like forced and ham-fisted to have this real person show up in this story. But here, it works perfectly fine. And I also like that they got an actual German-speaking actor to play a German. This may seem like a small thing, but I appreciate it a lot. Just because I don't have to listen to like an American or an Englishman vomit out what he thinks is German. Overall, I think I like this episode even more than the previous one. And again, it's just because of like solid writing and character work and stuff, because there isn't much action or anything going on here. But it's just a really well done atmospheric episode, and while not much is happening, I think this is paced well, like it just flew by. So a definitive recommendation, this is one of the best episodes of the show probably. And so far, maybe also the best implementation of a real historical character in the story. And with that, we end the first season of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Season 2 is a lot longer. It's over 20 episodes because the show got cancelled and stuff, and they just got everything out that they had shot, and then afterwards they made a couple made-for-TV movies. But we will go through all of that eventually. But next time, we will get to the episode Austria, March 1917.